Hi, this is Garrett Wong. I played Ensign Harry Kim on Star Trek Voyager, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
The world of podcasting, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Mark Who 42 podcast. Our continuing mission to explore geeky topics, to discuss geeky movies, and to go where no podcast has gone before. Yeah, welcome to the Mark Who 42 podcast. My name is Eduardo M. Fryer, and with me today is...
Vicky Jacobowski.
Yep, the inmates have taken over the asylum. I think Mark and Zion, last I saw them, they were geeking out over The Guardian of Forever, and then I haven't seen them again. I think they messed up, and they're probably somewhere in time and space.
We
I'd look
might
for
have
'em,
locked
but-
them in the bridge. Hopefully they'll forgive us.
I don't care.
We are
Yeah.
so bad today. Forgive us, boys. We have taken over.
Nah, I don't need it. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. But yeah, based off
But what
all
are
the
we
jokes.
doing? What are
Yep,
we gonna
based
do?
off all the jokes that we have, I think everybody can guess that we are doing Barbie. Just kidding. No, we're not doing the Barbie movie. We're doing Oppenheimer. I'm
Nope.
just kidding again.
Nope.
Nope, we're covering season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Yep, which oh my god, this season. Darn it,
It
this
had
season.
everything.
What?
It had everything.
Oh god, it was a roller coaster. You have
It
these
really
great
was.
I mean, you have these great dramatic episodes, and
Yes.
then you had these like really fun episodes. It's like I think like the
Yeah.
last 4 or 5 episodes, it was like that. You had the serious one, you had the lighthearted one, the serious one.
Yeah.
You had like a really awesome lighthearted one, which I had to download the soundtrack the minute I saw it was on
Yes.
iTunes. And then you had, then you had the finale, which has me going,
Yep, right there with you.
oh,
I have to tell you, one of the things that Strange New Worlds has made me think about is it has brought together some of the best of the original, in that each episode not only moved along a story, but they were also encapsulated stories. Also, it kind of has more of like the feel of the J.J. Abrams. So you get more of the, it doesn't feel like the 1960s anymore. But I like the way
Yeah.
that they've married that. Both seasons have really brought that. And as a huge Star Trek fan, and yes, I am both a Star Trek and Star Wars fan. I know that apparently that's an anomaly, but you and I share that love. And
we've actually, yep, we're actually getting the 2 franchises to mix. What are you doing? What is the one with the stick and the phases and the broad guy with pointy ears, and then you're mixing that with the ones with the laser swords and the pew pews. That ain't right. Yeah, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. Okay.
why not? And here's the funny thing. Yes, is everything perfect? Of course not, because there's no such thing as a perfect show. I've yet to see one. But I do like the fact that we got such a nice variety. too often shows are all kind of the same note. They're all funny, or they're all serious, or they're all whatever they are. And I've heard people complain, oh, here's a musical one, or oh, here's this, or oh, why do they have to get preachy, or oh, why do they have to do this? And it's like, you know, a good show needs to have some variety. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to like every episode in every show of a series. But it's interesting listening to some of the chatter and some of the reviews, because I see this with every show that I read reviews on. I find it funny the things that people complain about. Like, you could have someone complain, I'll just pick on for 2 seconds the musical episode. Some people love musical episodes and some people hate musical episodes just because they're a musical episode. Not because it's good or bad, just because it is. And that always makes me laugh. And then they'll rate it accordingly, not even based on the musical quality, how it brings the story along, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just the fact that it's a musical episode, or because it's a series show and they had a funny episode, or vice versa. And,
Yeah,
you know,
that
I don't know. I
that
think, guys,
annoys me.
sit there and look at it. And if you don't like the message of a show, say you don't like the message, but sit there and actually look at the acting before you give it a 2. It's like, is the acting still good? Say, I didn't like the message, but the acting and the writing was still good. You know, maybe give it a 5 or a 6. Or, you know, if you say, I really like this story, but oh, the acting sucked, you know, do that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on a soapbox. I realize now. I apologize. But I feel that reviews have gotten very shallow, where it's like, oh, my God, the story. I hated this story. Why does everyone have to do a story about XYZ? Well,
Yeah.
you know, because it was relevant at the time this episode came out, because this happened at that time. And you don't like stories about XYZ. I get it. But was it badly written? Were the actors horrible? No,
Yeah.
you just didn't like stories about igloos. Why would
Yeah,
you
well,
sit
and,
there
you
and
know,
say it was a 1-star review?
yeah, and then it's also, I mean, you know, it's like every, you know, yeah, every episode does not have to be the same thing. You know, not to mention the fact that, and this is a little, yeah, this is a little preachy as well. It's like, this is not about, you know, I mean, if you don't, you know, if you're like, well, why didn't we have more, you know, why didn't we have
Right.
more phaser battles, or why didn't they, you know, why didn't you know, why isn't Pike being like Kirk and, you know, banging the alien of the week? It's like, okay, you're paying attention to the wrong thing.
Right.
Like, you're on the wrong thing here. This is not what we're here for. You know, it's, if you're complaining because Trek did an allegory for, you know, need for public school education, it's like, why did it get all preachy? It's like, well, you know what? Welcome to the party, Richter, because that's always what Star Trek has always preached something. It's just you don't
Yeah.
realize it because you were paying attention to the pew pew. You're paying attention to
Right.
the, you know, you're paying attention to everybody wearing, you know, everybody wearing the Mirror Universe outfits. You know,
Right.
it's like, yeah, Trek has always preached to you. It's just sometimes you haven't noticed. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, remember the original series episode, Let This Be Your Last Battlefield?
Yeah.
It was about racism.
And a lot of times, you know, and it's so funny because throughout the history of Star Trek, there have been some episodes. Okay, let's, you know, the entire first season of Next Generation. I love Next
Mhm.
Gen, but the entire first season, Next Generation, was as subtle as a hammer to the head.
Yep.
It got much better afterwards. But, you know, throughout all of them, there were many episodes that had messages. There were many episodes that had messages that were not obvious. And as a matter of fact, some of them, when you watch them afterwards or years later, I mean, there are several of them that I watch and I go, oh, well, that's obviously about, but possibly in 1968 or 69, maybe you wouldn't have gotten that because it was 1968 or 1969. But maybe in 1978 or 79, it would have been far more, oh, well, of course that was about this. Of course this was about that. You know, even though the kiss between Uhura and Kurt was actually not the very first interracial kiss on national TV, it was the very first that was truly national on a big show, the way it was, and the fact that the studio didn't back down. Now, there were some stations that chose not to. Can you imagine that a station would not show an episode because a black woman kissed a white man? Can you even imagine that in 2023? Can you even imagine that? That is like shocking to think that there were men smoking cigars in tweed suits going, oh my God. You know,
We can't risk the sponsors. We can't risk the sponsors leaving
yes.
because Uhura and Kurt kissed.
Now we
Sorry,
do still
Gene,
have
but we're
that
not playing
happening
the episode.
behind the scenes
Yeah.
about other things,
Yeah.
but we just don't realize it as much. And so it's a weird and funny thing that people will say things are too preachy, but what they don't realize is that there are other episodes that are preaching. They don't realize they're being preached to. Yes, some episodes may be very obvious because maybe it's really right in your face because it's paralleling something that's happened right now. And there's no way to get around the fact that X goes with Y. It's something that's in our world right now.
Yeah.
And that's true of any TV show or whatever. But I'm going to tell you right now, in 10 years, there's going to be other episodes that are going to be like, oh my God, that was about this, wasn't it? Holy crap. You know?
Yep. But and actually getting on to like the episodes themselves
Oh,
that we
yes.
had this season.
Oh,
Well, first off, I mean, we did that episode with the with the Klingons.
yeah.
Interesting. First of all, interesting that we had Pike kind of take a back seat. You know, he kind of took a break, which was very interesting. I also found it interesting that we did not jump straight into resolving the cliffhanger from last season.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Una spent like an episode still, you know, in custody.
Right.
You know, while Pike I guess had like a trump card he wanted to play. And you know, it was interesting that you know, we still had that, you know. Una wasn't immediately rescued. It wasn't immediately resolved.
That
So
was
when
very nice.
Yeah, when they put up the next episode, when we actually had the actual trial, I did enjoy what it reminded me a lot of The Measure of a Man.
That's exactly the one I was feeling too.
Yeah, from Next Gen. You know, it was that same kind of feel where you had
yes.
you know, where you had that whole thing
At
of,
what
you know, this
point
person is
do
at the
you
point,
have and
Yep.
you know, and then there's always these fine lines between respecting religious and cultural differences and understanding their concerns, especially now, of course, there's an assumption. And I would like to hope that anyone new coming to the series who's like, oh, what's the eugenics war? Oh, here, let me go watch, you know,
Bad. It was bad. Yeah.
let's go watch the Khan episode, the Space Seed on the original series. Let's go watch Wrath of Khan. Let's go, you know, read a few articles online or watch a couple of YouTube videos on the eugenics wars, watch a few other episodes, or, you know, I don't know, just read a short 2-second paragraph on it. There's so many things written on it on some of the wiki pages that are out there for the fans that, you could read it and go, okay, and understand what the eugenics war means to this universe and why they're so scared of it and why they don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. So I get it. I totally understand it. And we've had similar things in our own culture, in the real world. So we all get it. And how do you balance all of that? And I like the fact that it didn't resolve the answer, but it gave us a foot into the answer that could be answered, that could be touched on again in either a future episode or a future series. Because that's appropriate.
It also, yeah, no, and it's like it didn't resolve things because and also if you look, one of the great things about having a prequel, you look and it's not, you still you had the argument again later with Dr. Bashir. You had another argument, and this was with Data. You had so it's it's ongoing. It's an ongoing thing, but it's like you take it a step at a time, and then that to me is just that was
And I think that's very good because it shows the society that is Starfleet. And what I loved about Deep Space Nine in general was it shows the fact that life is not all perfect in the future. It's a little harder. Not every corner of the universe is the bright, pretty utopian Starfleet. And, there's still struggles. There's still concepts that they're dealing with. And Dr. Bashir's story gave us some of that, and I loved it, and the fact that we were still dealing with, and I like the way you put it. Now we see where we've got this arc that goes hundreds of years of, and I bet we're going to have some more of that come in some other series in the future, which will be great.
Maybe. It's not, the door is not, the problem wasn't resolved.
No.
And we got, and I do like, speaking of things that kind of went on throughout the entire series, we have the episode, let me see if I get this right, because, I want to. There's the episode Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. Where I got them all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like you have that episode, which, well, first of all, kudos to the guys who wrote the episode.
Oh my gosh, wasn't that amazing?
That not only is it shot in Toronto, but it takes place in Toronto. It's not shooting in Toronto and going, we have to go to the city of Chicago. It's like, so why are we in Toronto?
I actually appreciate that. That was so well done.
Yeah.
And I found that entire episode, I'm going to call it very real, because you had so many real emotions.
Yep.
Laughter, pride,
And hey, you had Lon Noonan Singh actually get some really good really good scenes out of it. It's like, wow, this was awesome. And
she had her face to face with baby Hitler moment. I realized that Khan is not necessarily Hitler, but in some ways he really kind of was. He was kind of the Star Trek equivalent of Hitler. I think he may have been responsible for the death of more people than Hitler. I'm trying to remember what the actual death of the eugenics wars were. And I can't remember right now, so forgive me, Star Trek universe. But when you come face to face with a child that will grow up, who will create this galactic war and then cause more and more death and destruction. Not to mention, we've got Kirk talking about his on and again, off again girlfriend who's pregnant, and that little
Well,
child
that's
will result in the death inadvertently, indirectly, of that
Yeah.
child. I just the intercircular, circular error, you know.
Yep. Oh
Um,
no, and it's like
oh my
it's like
gosh.
yeah, you have the child Hitler moment. You had and then yeah, you have La'an falling for Kirk, and then just the fact that
Yes.
that version of Kirk, dies out, and then she also has to have this
Yes.
very secret pain because the temporal person that she ran into is like, yeah, we don't want to screw up the timeline, so you got to shut up about it. Like,
Yes.
sorry, not sorry. Yeah, I know you're broken up about it. Yeah, it looked like you two had a really great thing going, but yeah, we gotta make sure that the timeline isn't messed up. So can you just like out about it in your room when nobody's looking? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. It's like, wow. So she has to deal and then having like um hmm, 616 or Prime Kirk or whatever you want to call him show
Yeah.
up, and it's like this is a guy that wow, this is a guy I got the hots for. But it's not the guy I have the hots for, and
Yeah.
what do I do? What do we do? Come on,
The
what do we
the
do?
the the
Yeah.
quandary of time travel always. It's you, but it's not you. It's
Yeah.
me and it's my feelings, but they're wrong.
Yep.
I
Well,
don't know
it's
what to
it's
do with this.
it's like time travel plus, alternate mention stuff because it's like,
Yes.
yeah, it's Kirk. It's not the Kirk that, you know, I fell in love with. It's Kirk, and oh, he's still got that same swagger. He's still, he's got that sly smile, and it's like, ugh, 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 ugh. And
Yes.
you can't do anything, and then yes, you can't say anything because we need to preserve the timeline. It's like, oh, so I'm just supposed to be miserable all by myself. It's like, yep, that's the way it works. I know,
I
bummer,
wasn't
gotta
even
go.
upset when she said anything because, first of all, I mean, let's be honest, has not everybody who has done any form of time travel broken the code? Everybody, including the people who wrote the code.
Yeah, yeah, that
I
does
mean,
happen to be like
I'm
one of those
thinking
reoccurring
about
things.
Enterprise. I'm thinking about um um I'm thinking about every single show.
Yeah.
Has there been a single time traveling show in all these seasons, where there has not been one level of it broken? Has there not been a prime directive broken? Has there not been, I mean, they make all these rules. Oh my God, we're going right back to the civil rights lawyer. Haven't they broken their rules when necessary every time? Okay, they're more like
For the
guidelines.
Yep.
But,
Yep.
the rules of time travel, although they do try really hard to stick by them, it's hard, and there's a reason why. Because we're human. Even when we're not human, we have feelings. We are emotional beings. Even Vulcans who suppress their emotions are emotional beings. Thus, it is impossible to say that we can not feel something when people enter our lives.
No, definitely. And you know what? Since we're talking about rules and time and all that, it is unfortunately time to go to a commercial. So yeah, we're gonna have to do a commercial sign. But when we come back, we will talk more about Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, including 2 episodes which some people hated, others loved, and not to mention the finale, which has me like banging my head against the wall and going, "Ah, episodes now!" Don't worry. worry, you'll be getting more from us on Subspace Radio in just a moment.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
The Pullbag is GCRN's comic book review and discussion-based podcast. Join me, TFG and Mike, and the rest of the GCRN crew as we discuss the comics we are reading right now. Inside the Pullbag, you'll also find the origins of how guests got into or out of reading comics, after dark discussions, and so much more. You can find the Pullbag every Wednesday, which is New Comic Book Day, only on geekcastradio.com and on anywhere you consume your podcasts. Make your great escape into comics and jump into the Pullbag today.
You are listening to Mark Who 42's Universe.
Welcome back to Mark Who 42 here on Subspace Radio, where we have been talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. The serious episode. The serious season, but then the not serious season, but then the serious episode. And yeah, just a lot of feelings. And I just, so yeah, wow. Yeah, the Lotus Eaters episode was a good one.
That was heavy.
That was a heavy one. Gotta love, how they're trying to keep their memories.
You know which one that reminded me of?
Which one?
It made me think about the Cloudminders, where although that one was on purpose, but where they had the people working in the mines, and the minerals from the mines kept their it didn't erase their memories like the meteorite did, but it suppressed their ability to think and process complex thoughts. So it kept them at a much more childlike and complacent level. So you had the people who lived in the Cloud City who were all, oh, look at us, we're pretty and we're brilliant and we have art and we're amazing. And the troglodytes live down there, but they're not smart enough to live with us. But it was because they were being harmed by the minerals. And so it was very similar in this episode, you have the ore from this meteor that basically would erase their memories. I mean, could you imagine that every day you wake up? So you have to have tattoos so you can remember. You create these totems in your tent so you have your stories. Oh my gosh, that's awful. That's heartbreaking.
No, it's like we got another, Starfleet office. We got another example.
Yes.
A Starfleet officer who's like, just like the that episode with the excuse me, space Germans.
Oh,
there you
God,
go. I'm
the
just gonna say
space Nazis.
Germans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say space Germans. Yeah.
Yes.
Just but yeah, the fact that you have that episode, you have that episode where once again a Starfleet officer is like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna be in charge now. And I'm gonna bring this in, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we're gonna, no, I'm gonna do this, and it's like, yeah, we have a guy who, we have a guy who basically comes in, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna rule it all.
Yeah.
So we got that again. We got that little chestnut again.
And how, once again, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And, it just is, I don't know, it just kind of blows your mind. The fact that this Starfleet officer, even though he's in the palace and essentially protected, he doesn't have a problem with it. he's fine being essentially king. I mean, mind you, he seems to be going mad, but and he doesn't have a problem with it. And I'm like, what happened to the ideals? I don't care if you were left behind. What happened to your oaths? What happened to your thought process? What is wrong with you? I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, definitely. After that, I think after that we had one of the more lighthearted ones, charades, where
That
we ended up having where Spock's human half ended up being predominant. That one, I mean, it was just hilarious.
it was.
Oh man, it was just seeing Spock having to struggle like with just human things was just I just had a blast with it. I I should probably feel bad, but I don't. And then just the whole ceremony with Kring and her parents,
Yeah.
that was also hilarious. I gotta feel sorry for T'Pring's dad.
Oh my
It just
gosh,
feels like he's
yes.
just so
You
whipped. I mean,
you
he,
just
he
oh.
he's whipped. He's whipped. I mean,
It's like,
you
oh, this
look
is
at
so
him and it's like
yummy. No, it's not. Oh, no, it's not.
no, honey, it's kind of yummy. No, it's not. It's like,
Okay.
poor guy. The poor guy. You just want to be like, dude, blink twice. Blink twice if you
Now,
need
I
help.
will say of the episodes, it's my least favorite, but I give it a solid B
Okay.
minus. So so I'm not saying when I say it's my least favorite, it's my least favorite of a still good show.
Yeah.
But where it's my least favorite, it's what I would have done is, to me, there was a few bits I
Hmm.
would have in my head, I would have tightened a few things up, but that's because I'm always looking at things that way. I'm always like, we could so tighten that up.
Yeah, no,
You could have
I'm the
just,
same way.
you could have just made that scene just a little, whether it was tightening it with timing, with words, with whatever it is like, that could have flowed just a little smoother. Or that awkward bit was awkward for like 2 seconds too long, so it moved from awkward funny to awkward.
Yeah.
Which is why I give it a
Yep.
solid B minus,
Well,
because
it's like, yeah, and it's like, great example of that would be Spock trying laughter for the first time, and it's just like, whoa, dude, it wasn't that funny.
I will say there were a few times when Spock is doing things and I kept being struck by, oh my God, I'm watching Sheldon Cooper smile.
Yeah. Well, we know that a couple of episodes after Boimler notices it and gets creeped out.
Yes.
So
Yes. There was definitely that
Um,
going on. No
oh yeah.
question.
And then him kind of getting together with Nurse Chapel. It's like I wasn't expecting that, but that also puts Nurse Chapel's appearances in the original series in a new light.
Yes.
Especially like we get towards the end of this season, and the mention of a certain individual, which we will get to,
Yes.
kind of had me going, oh,
Yes.
ooh,
Nope.
okay, yeah,
Because I like the way that it gets tied in, and I like the way that Spock has to get a little complicated. We
Yeah.
know that looking at, Spock is in several series and movies, and when we look at both the Kelvin and the traditional timelines, Spock has a complicated life.
Yeah.
I
Well,
even
he's
vaguely recall a speech where
he's
he
half
has
human.
that. He's half
Yeah.
human, and he struggles with all these aspects of his life. And he struggles with trying to pick a life between human and Vulcan. And I think that's why he can never quite pick a traditional mate. And which is why he should be struggling between these two, and why he can't resolve between these two. And it makes sense. It also makes sense why at this stage in the relationship he would have I don't even want to call it a fling, because I don't even think it's a fling. Because a fling suggests something in modern connotation that wouldn't be right. They're trying to figure out what they feel for each other.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's
You
trying to
have
figure out
a war nurse with PTSD trying to figure out who she is and how she feels about a half Vulcan, half human. You have a half Vulcan, half human trying to figure out what he should do, what his duty is, what he wants, what he doesn't want. And you know there's going to be a crack coming in season 3 that's going to throw all this in, and he's going to lose both of them. Because it's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we do. I mean, it's funny you mentioned Nurse Chapel's PTSD, because that does play in later on in the season. In one of those episodes, it's like, good for lighthearted episode, now time for the serious one.
Yes.
I like that after the Spock episode, we do get a focus on Uhura, which it's great to see her, and it feels a lot like a Next Gen episode. We're dealing with all these hallucinations, but it's like, oh, there's something to it.
I like the way it's dealing with a species that is not humanoid and does not deal with things that are humanoid, because because with Next Gen we started to deal with things that were a lot more different. We had a smidge of that in the original series, but Next Gen we started to get like the crystalline entity, which was something completely different, or some of the energy beings that were completely different. And this becomes important because too often it becomes easy when our creatures are bipedal and they just look like humans with antennae and blue skin,
Exactly.
So we need to have other species out there that defy our concept of life. So the fact that there is a life that we cannot define, and their attempt at doing language is hitting Uhura and this other officer from the other ship, because they have this ability with language that they can hear something, and it's showing it through them through images. And so because they have that connection with death, and it makes me think of, what am I thinking of? Remind me what I'm thinking of. Where it's Picard gets on the planet with the guy who talks in similes and metaphors.
Darmok.
Thank you.
Darmok, I like. Yeah, oh yeah, no, you know what? Actually, I did not think of that until you said something. Like, now that you said something, I'm like, no, yeah, I can understand what. Yeah. Can I just say, Vicky? If aliens are trying to communicate via image, maybe next time don't use zombie.
Oh my gosh!
Oh Lord! It's like
we got to that one
like,
late at night. My husband had a late show, and we were like, okay, we're both still up. Let's watch an episode. I was like, oh my God, it's 1 a.m. What the heck am I watching? It's like, okay, covers up.
Zombie Helmer. Very good.
I was not ready for that at all.
Oh yeah, no. The other, and of course, hey, we get Kirk again, and once again, it's like there's La'an, seeing Kirk, and it's like,
and watching her
universe boyfriend
struggle, and she, it's fascinating to watch this person who is, related to Khan, who's this amazing security chief. Yet her emotions are right there.
Yep.
Right
and then
there under that first layer of derm.
Yep. By the way, you've seen the meme that's going around, right?
No.
There's a meme. It's scenes from Wrath of Khan,
Yeah.
And it's like, Kirk and Khan talking over a view screen, and then Kirk says something like, oh, that's okay, you may have Genesis, but I'm the one who hit on your great granddaughter. And Khan's like, what? Kirk's
Oh,
like, what? What? It's like they do it back and forth. Like, what? Okay, gotta get
oh,
to,
that's like
but listen,
uncomfortable.
yeah, okay, gotta get to
Oh,
one of two episodes that I had a blast. Lighthearted, but you know what? Still just awesome episode.
the
Those
TOS.
those old scientists. Yeah, oh my lord. First off, the animated opening.
Yes.
Oh, loved it. I love that it started animated,
Yes.
like Lower Decks, and then switched to live action. I love that they bookended it
Yes.
with the Strange New Worlds crew animated, and then that's because they're having the ale, and it's like, what did we ingest? This is weird.
That
uh,
episode
uh,
was so much about that.
oh yeah.
I absolutely loved, because I love Lower Decks. I love
Yes.
the reverence of Lower Decks.
Yes.
Because
Well,
it takes everything I love about Star Trek and says,
you know what?
but then there's this other stuff too, you know?
Yeah. Well, what I love is that it's reverent but irreverent at the same time.
Yes.
Like
Amen.
it has all these great little nods to classic Trek that it does very lovingly, but then it also just lampshades the hell out of it.
Yes.
And and then this episode, I thought this crossover episode was perfect because it showed how Lower Decks could still be like a part of the greater Trek universe. It can still interact, like the fact that Boimler just
we don't have many crossover episodes. This I put right up there with the Trouble with Tribbles crossover episode, because they figured out how to do it seamless.
Yep.
How to do it beautifully. And I mean, when I heard they were going to do this, my first thought was, well, okay, a couple of the characters actually do look like their characters, the way they're drawn, enough that they could pull that off. And they did it with the two characters that actually kind of look like the actors. So, okay, they could pull that off. But it was kind of like, oh my ever living God, this was funny. I mean, I was dying from start to finish. I couldn't stop laughing.
By the way, you did notice, like, around this time we did have a trailer for the next season of Lower Decks, and notice that they did drop a reference to this episode, because you had Boimler and you had Boimler and Mariner talking. It's like, oh yeah, that thing with the Enterprise, and it's like, shut up. Yeah, so it was cool. It's cool to know that in Lower Decks that they're going to, that they're at least going to drop a reference to it. Yeah. Oh man, the next episode.
Oh, the next one was rough.
Next episode. Oh Lord. I mean, first of all, great that they go back into Mbenga's history, because we know Mbenga and Chapel kind of are bonded because of their experiences with the Klingon War.
Yeah.
And to just go back to that. And just to go to that, I mean, the whole episode, it's like you have that Klingon ambassador apparently trying, like, get along with everybody, and even trying to extend the olive branch to Mbenga and Chapel. And it's like, they just, it was, man, it's like it actually took what was going on with Star Trek VI, with Kirk's reaction to the whole thing. It took that and it chopped it up to it sent it up to 11. It's like, okay, this is, especially the reveal. I don't know how I feel about the reveal, that the Klingon ambassador was, trying to foster a lie. I don't know how I feel about that, but then at the same time, I'm like, it's interesting. It's interesting, and I also one thing. I mean, I do want to get your opinion on that,
Uh-huh.
on this one thing. So Mbenga has been acting as chief medical officer
Yes.
for the past couple of seasons. Now, the thing is that those of us who grew up with the original series, we know that eventually it becomes McCoy. We get
Yes.
the Three Musketeers of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but the second Star Trek pilot, the one that introduced Kirk and the crew that we know and love, that one did not have McCoy.
Correct.
He was not the chief medical officer. It was somebody named Mark Piper.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So the thing to me, and then especially after seeing this episode, I'm like, are we going to get a point somewhere in the run of this show? Are we going to get a point where Mbenga's going to leave and Piper comes in?
And that's possible.
Are we going to get that? Especially because, as we get into the season finale, I even had a thought, and I was just like, oh boy.
Okay, so real quick on I'm going to call it the MASH episode. And I was actually really pleased to find out that they based a lot of their look and feel of this episode on several episodes of MASH, because it makes sense.
Yep.
And having been around the planet for a while and knowing what it's been like with war and genocides and the struggles we've had on this planet on how do you move forward once a genocide or an ugly war has occurred, and how do you move forward? And I think about, Desmond Tutu and his efforts to make peace in South Africa and without necessarily moving forward with punishment per se, and then others have done it with the punishment angle. And on one hand, you have him coming forward and trying to broker peace, but on the other hand, he is the butcher who then took advantage of the fact of someone else killing his lieutenants to run. And I am on the fence. On one hand, he's trying to broker peace. It's not based on a lie,
the other hand,
but he's trying to broker peace. On the other hand, the doctor is taking advantage of a situation to get rid of a butcher. And I don't know how I feel with my own family connections to things like this. I cannot make an equivocal answer to that. So I would like to move on to the musical episode because I want to think happy thoughts.
Okay, so happy thoughts. We have the musical episode. I liked it. The next day I saw that the soundtrack was available, and I bought it off iTunes. I downloaded it. I kind of got half of what I wanted, which was, the Klingons did belt out into song. It was kind of more K-pop. It was more K-pop, but you know what? It was just so hilarious, especially Pike's reaction.
Did you know that the Klingon commander is the guy who plays Himmler?
Yes.
That was funny when I read that. I'm like, no. Oh, that's.
I saw that. I'm like, hey, we got zombie Himmler, but hey, let's have the actor come back and not do something lighthearted.
And I have to throw in this bit that we're watching it. We're enjoying every bit of it. And you needed that lightness after the darkness of episode 8. You really needed that lightness. It was great. It was wonderful. At some point while watching it, my husband goes, wow, this really feels like the Buffy musical episode, which of course is the musical episode because it is the best musical episode of TV shows ever in the history of the universe. Sorry, just is. And it turns out that they were
favorite song.
You would put me on the spot. Damn it. Don't do that to me. God.
No, I'm doing that to you. I'm doing it to you.
Well, first, what I'd like to do is I'd like to say that it was nice to find out that they actually really wanted to go with the sound and the feeling of that episode, and they specifically
Buffy episode. Yeah.
the Buffy
Yeah.
episode. So they really did try to go with that one. Okay, song. What is my favorite song? I don't know. Why would you ask me something so horrible? Oh, I know. I don't know. You tell me. What's yours?
Okay, for me, it would be the one between number 1 and Kirk, Connect to Your Crew.
That was it.
I thought it was just such a fun, lighthearted little song. Although the Gilbert and Sullivan line kind of sounded weird.
Yeah, I know. But Lon's belt.
Yeah, Lon's was good. There's a part of me that, we have those images of her and Kirk like in the bed, and I'm like, did that happen, or is that in her head? But
no,
yeah,
because I think that really happened in Toronto. Well, actually, you're right. We know they kissed, but we don't really know about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, did anything else happen? And I'm kind of heartbroken. Yeah, she got her heart broken, but
no, that is a good one.
The reference to Carol Marcus. Oh man.
Yeah.
And then the one that really got me is when Chapel mentions her fellowship, and she says the Corby Fellowship. I'm like,
yes.
Oh crap!
And because that of course was her fiance that goes missing. So then you kind of go, ooh, spoiler, ooh.
Yep. Which means, when she gets back to the Enterprise, she and Spock. Oh boy, like it's good that they had their little breakup now, because awkwardness is coming.
It's hard to have that discussion. It's hard to have that thought, but I mean, but that was such an amazing episode, and. If you don't like musical episodes, fine, just skip it. But here's the thing. Everyone was truly... What?
Vicky, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
But unfortunately, we are out of time. We are out of time here on Subspace Radio.
Energize.
Hi, this is Marku42 himself, Mark Baumgarten. Unfortunately, we don't have extra innings tonight, so we're going to be unable to talk about the season finale of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. But I have a challenge for all of you. Why don't you tell us, Marku42's Universe, what you thought about the last episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. Then email those comments to marku42.42@gmail.com. And in a future episode of our show, we will read them aloud. So it's kind of interactive, isn't it? We'll see you guys next time here on Marku42's Universe. Bye. Thanks for listening to Marku42's Universe, featuring Mark Baumgarten, Eduardo M. Fryer, Vicky Jakubowski, and Zion Kuros. This show was produced and directed by Mark Baumgarten. If you'd like to get in touch with us, go to our Facebook page or email us at marku42s.universe@gmail.com. Our radio show airs weekly on Subspace Radio Network at www.subspace.radio and on iHeartRadio. You can listen to our old shows at our website, marku42.com, and many podcast platforms such as iTunes, Audible, and Pandora. And if you want to hear shows dating back to 2012 with over 150 celebrity interviews, try our YouTube page, Marku42. Marku42's Universe, copyrighted 2023.